As Joshua Peterson, Peterson Electric, I get a lot of phone calls about my dimmer's too hot to touch. This was one of those examples. So this dimmer right here is a three-way, and how you know is it's got three wires here connecting to it. This side is the power, just because I can see how it's coming off, and the other side will be the switch leg up there. This was so hot that when I touched the screw on a plastic plate, if I held it there, it was burning my skin. It's controlling this chandelier right here, and we counted the bulbs, and we've got 12 in there. So if you don't know what kind of wattage bulbs you have, one thing you can do is do the math on it. So you just kind of find out what your amperage is. It's 5.65 amps, and then you go to your voltage and figure out your voltage, and it was actually 120, almost 124. And then you multiply that, and we got about 715 watts or whatever it was. So this dimmer is only rated at 600. Now she thinks she's got 60 watts up there, and you take that times 12. That's like, I think that's 720. So it's, yeah, it's right about there. So instead of climbing up there getting a ladder, if the chandelier is real high, just do your voltage times your amperage, and that'll give you your wattage. And at that point, then we know that this dimmer, this is an older dimmer, and they usually can take more abuse, but it's starting to smell like plastic burning. But I put a thermometer on it just to show you. So this one is made by Bryant, and look how hot that's getting. I got up to almost at one point 150 degrees, 155 now. It's just getting hotter actually. I'm up to 157 degrees Fahrenheit on that dimmer. So if you come in here on another dimmer, which isn't taking as much abuse, and this one's been on, we just changed it out, and here's your hottest spot, and it's not resisting as many bulbs, of course, only 3, so it's like 4 times less, but you know, it's at 80 degrees. Now here's one right here that she's having issues with, and she says with this Bryant, why is it that my lights are flickering? Well, she's got, if you can hear that, go ahead and put the phone up there. If you hear that, that's a bad sound. And right now what's going to be happening is those up there are CFLs that they put in. And these, this dimmer is rated for only incandescent. So you have to make sure that your dimmer is rated for your light bulbs. So we always suggest that you go to Lutron and look that up, and they're a really good brand for dealing with dimmers. But you also got to make sure you watch your wattage. So out there, they should have a 1,000 watt dimmer out there. And the 1,000 watt incandescent dimmer, they get a little bit costly. They can be typically 2 to 3 times the cost depending on where you get it compared to a normal small dimmer like this that you could probably get for about 40 bucks. And then beyond that, if you don't watch what you're dimming, you can start a fire. And so they had over here these CFLs, we call them Dairy Queen bulbs, or cancer bulbs in my opinion at times, but there's mercury in here. And these actually say they're 13 watt, but they actually say that they are dimmable. But we put them on this dimmer, which is rated for CFL and LED, and it would not dim. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you're dimming it, they have what we call trim button. So right here, if I bring this down and you see that light, I can trim this at where I want my bottom out point to be. So again, if your dimmer's getting really, really hot, like serious to touch, yeah, you're probably going to be running 150, 160 degrees. If you're getting up to 200 degrees or above, your plastic is melting, and then you're going to smell a burning smell like a vacuum, and you better turn off that breaker. If it's a 3-way switch and someone else hits that switch on, you better hit the breaker. Otherwise, if it's a single pole, you'll know if it's a single pole because it has an on-off. If it's a 3-way, it'll just have, you know, it'll be naked. It won't have an on and off. But sometimes we do put in 3-ways when we don't have them on our truck, and it is truly just a single pole switch hitting one light fixture like this. And the other thing is, if you start hearing a snapping, that just means that the switch is starting to age, because inside there they break their contact. And when you're breaking an arc, over time you build up a carbon dust in there, and you hear a snap, so, or a crackle. But if you hold it in the middle position, of course it's going to crackle, right? Because it's not designed to do that. It's called a snap switch. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us.